go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Lunch with the Finance Bunch.
Welcome. I'm God's gift.
Hey, Matthew.
Hello. I just want to say that we have a special guest in the building today.
We really
This
do.
is my boo, and I haven't seen her in a cool minute, so I'm so glad that she blessed us with her presence today.
I'm excited.
Yes, indeed. We have a Erin Tullman in the building, who is the dating advice girl.
Yay!
She's a speaker, an empowerment coach, a dating coach, and she's a TV and radio personality. So she's like doing it all, guys. She's been featured on Lifetime Network, BuzzFeed, ABC7, The Washington Post, you name it. It goes on and on and on. So we are definitely excited to have you in the building today.
Absolutely.
I'm like, can I say something now? Yay!
Yes, you can.
I'm sorry, we had to just name off some of those accolades.
Well, and I mean, yeah, there's some other stuff happening too that's coming up. So I'm really excited. Some TV stuff. And yeah,
That's
thanks
so
for having
cool.
me.
Oh, absolutely. So stay tuned, guys. Beware.
Absolutely. Now, Erin, I want to jump right in because I was excited that you were coming in and you wrote a book, and it's like a guide to how to properly date without offending.
Well, so that's part of it. So, and again, thanks for having me. This is
Of
so
course.
great. And thanks for taking an interest in this topic because it's
Yes.
really important. Consent education is so important. So, the book basically is everything boundaries related, not just dating wise, friends, family,
Okay.
how to figure out what your own boundaries are.
That's
Because a lot
amazing.
of us don't know what our own boundaries are.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that obviously you can know your boundaries and they can still be crossed or violated.
Right.
But typically, like even with like the Aziz Ansari case that came out way back, it's like
Right.
there's scenarios there where, you know, I think both parties could have been better. And I'm fortunate that I grew up with a family that was like, listen, know your boundaries. If you feel uncomfortable, get the heck out of there.
Right.
But not everyone's learned that. And I feel like in that case, that girl maybe didn't learn that
didn't
stuff.
learn
And so
that.
she felt
Absolutely.
nervous. There's the celebrity factor. Anyway, I'm going off topic. But yeah, so the book will help with dating consensually, but also
Right.
just help with consensual interactions overall. Friends, family, work environments, all those things. It's so
Family could
important.
be a good one. So I'm going to set boundaries here, Shar, for me and you.
What does that
You
mean?
need to respect me all across the board.
Whatever, Matthew. Whatever. I'll
Oh my God, I
cross
love
all
you
those
guys.
Boundaries.
Wait,
There's
can
no
we-
boundaries where your
We're
mom
gonna
is
make a
concerned.
line between this radio show, between you, my mic, and your mic. I don't know what my boundaries are, but it just sounds good right now.
I love it. I mean, well, and just to like bring it home really quickly about the book, and I can tell you guys more about it later. But there's up to almost 40 experts in the book who've added advice to the book because I felt like it was really important that it not
Yes.
just be my voice.
Absolutely.
I have one voice, as a black female in her 30s. Don't tell people. So I have all genders, all different lifestyles, all different levels of expertise, health teachers, sex therapists, adding advice to the book because it was just so important to have that.
Now, if I could chime in, where did you meet these people in order to incorporate them into your book?
Well, Matthew, did I just
that's
blow your
no,
cover?
No, that's good.
Yeah.
It's Matthew, aka God's gift. You could use either one. It's fine.
Okay, God's gift. So,
Oh Lord, we're not gonna go through the whole show calling him God's gift. You're
We're
fine
setting
with
boundaries,
Matthew.
Shar. That's one of my boundaries. You
Thank
have to
you,
call me
Shar.
God's gift.
right, I will respect those boundaries. I will. But so I've been a dating coach for 10 years in Los Angeles. I speak on college campuses around dating, safety, and consent. I speak at conferences. I just spoke at like 3 conferences last month, one in Vancouver, one in Vegas. So I'm all over the place. So just doing that, hustling like I do, you meet a lot of people.
Right.
Also, when I was had the idea to write the book, I actually put an announcement on social media and said, if anyone knows of any health, sex therapists, people in this realm, in this industry, in my industry, so to speak, please let me know if they'd like to contribute to the book because I really wanted it to be just not just people I know. I wanted it to be other people that I don't know. So there's an expert in here from Amsterdam.
Wow.
All over, and I'm so proud and just I'm overwhelmed by the fact that people wanted to be a part of this. And some
Yes.
people
Right.
didn't know me at all. It's different if people know me. They're like,
Right,
oh
right,
no, I know
right.
she's going to handle it. But if people don't know me, it's like they entrusted me that I was
With the information.
right, and that I was going to put out
Absolutely.
something of quality, and that really I'm humbled by that.
And that's really dope too, because sorry to cut you off, Char.
No, go ahead.
Boundaries.
Whatever, Matthew. Here we go.
We're just opening up. It's dope because it's like getting in from so many different points of views and so many people talking about it. It just opens the discussion up to everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
Especially because it's such a huge topic that's common around everywhere.
Yes.
And everybody has their different like viewpoints, perspectives. So it's good to just get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Well, it's relationships, you know, and like she said, it's relationships on every level, not just in the dating scene, but also boundaries between, you know, mother and son.
Yes.
You know, those two. But, you know, no, all over the place, because even in the workplace, we talked about that a little bit, you know, like now that they have the hashtag Me Too, of course, now people are a lot more sensitive to the environments that you're in and how women can be subjected to. And in some cases, we were talking about it, you know, it was so socially acceptable that it became almost like this crazy norm.
Yeah.
That, and you know, even my other guest was talking about it. You'd have to quit your job to get away from it sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, those were your choices: either stay and be harassed, or quit your job and leave.
Well, and talking about finance and money, it's really crazy because, you know, especially in the entertainment business, there are a lot of people who have means to quit,
Right.
And they have income saved. A lot of people
Right.
don't have money
have
saved
that.
to quit
Yes.
a job and just hope that they can get another job.
That's right.
And that's a luxury. That's a privilege to be able to say, I'm going to walk away from this.
Exactly.
Well,
I also want to say really quickly that, you know, yes, I obviously as a woman, I feel in my humble opinion that women are on the bad side of this more of the time, but it's not just women.
No,
And
it's not.
It was really important to me that I make this book genderless,
Yes.
not gender specific. I mean, I really struggle with the design of the book cover because I wanted it to be something that wasn't too heavy and serious, but also
Right.
that it wasn't like, here's a bad dude on
Right.
the cover or
Right.
something. Because it should just be a human thing, not a
human
gender
condition,
thing. But
right.
again, as women,
Right.
we know what the deal is.
Exactly. And I think, to your point, more women speak up than men. Like,
Yeah.
women will speak up
Absolutely.
more readily than men. Women hold back a lot, but still, statistically,
Yeah.
more women will speak up than men because, you know, there's this whole male side of it where they feel like, well, I better not say anything because I'm a man.
Well, especially because men are like, you know, it's like the idea of us being so masculine. So it almost like takes that away from us if we start opening up the discussion about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, like Terry Crews. I mean, Terry Crews came
Yes.
out and, you know, it was like this thing happened to me on a red carpet and people were making, I mean, he's like a beefy, respectful,
Exactly.
masculine dude. I give him so much credit for having the courage because that is crazy. And by the way, I mean, just doing what I do, people confide in me all the time. I mean, in a coaching session, I also do coaching. I forgot to mention that earlier. In the coaching session, but just like when I'm at a bar or at a coffee shop, if people know what I do, then they're like, oh my gosh, can I tell you this thing that happened to me? And a
everybody
lot
has
of
a
times
story.
there are a lot of men and there's
Yes.
so much shame. Just general, the word shame. There's so much shame around all of this, especially
Yes.
when it comes down to, you know, being like sexually violated or all that stuff, but especially men. It's really, really, it's a hard thing to bring up.
Absolutely. 'Cause I
Right?
definitely do think
I'm
that
all
people,
right.
yeah, for sure. But I think that it does allow people to operate in a lot of fear, especially just because you don't know, like especially because there's this sense of like unknown once you do open up your mouth about
Yep.
what's going to happen afterwards. And you don't know how big the blowback or pushback or backlash you're going to get from it.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to get shunned, blackballed,
Exactly.
especially like from us working in the entertainment industry. You see so many entertainers that were able to get away with it so long. And it's because there's so many gatekeepers within the entertainment
And then like
industry.
enablers.
Yeah, and there's so many like politics around it, so that it's like if you open up your mouth, somebody might say, "Okay, we'll take that into consideration," and then you get blackballed from everything else that you want to
That
do.
you
And like you were saying, Shara, I think part of that is because of just this accepted culture of silence.
Right.
It was just acceptable. Like I am not an actress. I have a lot of friends who are actresses and I do things in the entertainment business more as a host or a personality expert, so to speak. But I didn't know about Harvey Weinstein, but I'm not an actress.
Right.
The amount of people who've said they knew about this kind of stuff
It's frightening.
is
Right.
outrageous.
Yes.
Like it's insane. I mean, I will say this. Personal, quick story. It's not a long story. Don't worry. But because I can get a little long-winded. But so I've lived here 15 years in Los Angeles, and one of the people that I was warned about when I moved here was Bill Cosby. Somebody said to me, I don't even remember who it was, but they were like, just be careful if you're ever around him. And I was like, what does that mean? They're like, just be careful. And I never forgot that. I never had any interaction with them. But, it's really interesting. So even just that, it's like, there's no specifics. Someone's giving me a kind of like covert warning, but I don't know what am I looking out
about?
for? Like,
right, exactly.
And it's like, still, even that is some level of like hiding the truth or, protecting someone or enabling. It's just like the enabling has got to stop all across the board. America and everyone listening, like, can we please stop enabling people when we know things and see things? We got to effing stop it. Sorry.
Exactly. And especially if you know about it and you're trying to go blind eye towards it, it's almost like you're part of the problem too.
No, it's true.
Part of the problem.
It's true. I mean,
Definitely.
like, where is like the camaraderie? You're trying to like protect your fellow man, and it's like, I mean, why are we protecting people who shouldn't be protected? I don't know what that is. Anyway, but I'm glad that that's changing. It's changing a little by little. It's changing.
Well, people like you help it because you write
Thank
books
you.
that create boundaries, because some people don't know what boundaries are or where they should start
Completely.
or stop. And so, again, it's this crazy norm
Yeah.
that isn't normal.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And we make assumptions, to your point. We make assumptions that everyone knows what's acceptable and not. I do feel like on some level there is some through line in terms of like, do unto others or respect people, but in terms of the specifics,
what
there
does that
is no
mean
consistent thing.
That's
Hence
Absolutely.
the consent guidebook.
Absolutely.
It's a crash course for people who might not understand.
Absolutely.
Let's get to the book.
Yes.
Yes.
I want to know.
Yes.
Like, so you go over specifically like the do's and don'ts?
So there's everything in the book from, I talk a lot, I have a chapter on pop culture and how we learn a lot about boundaries, especially dating and sexually through pop culture and porn, which is why are we doing that? Why are we learning from entertainment about how we're supposed to be treating people in everyday life?
Right.
That's insane. But it's just how our society has worked. And because there's a lack of consent education in a lot of our health classes growing up, we don't know.
Right.
When I was in school, I learned in a health class, don't get pregnant and STDs and here's where a baby comes from. And that's basically it. There was no talk about boundaries. I will say this, when I do interact on college campuses and people like younger millennials and post-millennials, they have learned more about consent in school, which is amazing. Somebody told me, I think University of Oregon, they have like a whole week filled of consent-related things in orientation weekend.
Oh, wow.
So
that's great.
That's one school that's doing it.
One out of 9,000.
And right. And there's a lot of schools that are trying. And so I will say that I feel like colleges and things are getting better at it. I had a podcast several years ago, and on the podcast I wanted to know more about consent and what people were learning or not. So I brought in groups of people from ages like 18 to 70 and asked them, did they learn about consent at all throughout their lives? And almost everyone said no. In any way.
Sure.
And so, the book is basically, there's pop culture references in there. There's everything from, chapter 4 is the new normal is enthusiastic consent. So if you learn nothing at all from me during this podcast,
I was going to say, I'm about to set up. What is this?
I want to know what that is.
Consent?
the new normal is enthusiastic consent. In all of these cases we're talking about, one of the two parties was not enthusiastic about what was happening. And we're taking out the like violence portion of some of these.
Right.
But if someone isn't enthusiastic, that's a no. And that's to protect yourself as well. Because at this point, I spoke at East LA College a few weeks ago. Last month was Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and they brought in a panel of quote unquote experts to talk to these students. I was so excited. It was like more men than women in that class. And this is like 18 to 20 year olds.
Yeah, because they want to learn. Because men, I don't want to defend anything that's happened, but I think like in some cases, especially with younger men, they don't know what the boundaries are. So they're probably showing up to figure it out because they got a song telling them to do one thing, and then they got a movie telling them to do something else. But who's setting the criteria for what's right and wrong?
Well, I'm gonna blow your mind a little bit here, Shar. So
hold on to your seat, Shar.
Hold on tight. Okay, so in my experiences, again, I do a lot of work around with college students. I also do a decent amount as a dating coach. I do a decent amount of work, and I have a lot of clients that are in the baby boomer age range. The most resistance and lack of willingness to get this is from the older generation.
I believe that.
And
absolutely.
so even though the younger generation might not, they're trying to figure it out. I agree. I will say, let me say this. They
At least
want
they're
to
willing
learn.
to
They
learn
want
as
to
far as being a
learn,
sponge.
right.
They want to, rather than people, I'm in my 30s, like I said before, people older than me, generally speaking, of course there's exceptions, are having a really, really hard time with this. And that's genderless as well. That's men and women, all genders. They're like, well, why should I have to change? And well, who are these people? And why didn't they speak up before? And like just finding all the holes that they can find in the argument rather than saying, people are like hurting and trying to speak up. We're trying to make things better. Like rather than accept that, it's like, let's get defensive and shame the victim. Whereas younger people, so back to the East LA college panel, it was so amazing to me because, you know, we were up there to present. And at one point I was like, can we hear from these kids? I want to hear from the kids. Like, what are your experiences?
So when we come back, we're going to talk about what those kids' experiences are because I want to hear that too.
It's getting a little hot in here,
It's getting a whole lot of hot in here. This is Charline.
And this is God's Gift Matthew.
And we're on Dash Talk Radio, Lunch with the Finance Bunch, and we'll be right back. Good afternoon. We're having a great time in here today. This is Charline on Lunch with the Finance Bunch.
I know. I don't even know where to start back.
We have Erin Tullman in the house, and she has turned it all the way up. And she has a book, and we love this book, and we want to know more about it. What we were talking about when we went to break was the fact that young people are very positive about learning what the safe boundaries are and how to interact in relationships. And that, for me, is music to my ears. So please tell us more about how that's working for you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always hopeful for the future.
Yes.
When I interact with students on college campuses. Now, that's not to say that there aren't issues, because of course there are.
Of course there are.
Especially drinking and, you know, all these things involved. And I really struggled with saying something about that in my book, because at what point are you not able to give consent when you're drinking?
Right.
Or doing any sort of substance, right? It's like, is it after one beer, etc. So for me, the easiest answer to say is if you're intoxicated, you probably shouldn't do anything or shouldn't approach someone. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm saying that legally, some might say that you can't judge if someone is impaired enough to give consent or not if they're intoxicated. That's the other thing, and I don't want to get into that. So back to the kids. Right. So you know, I recently was talking to this frat boy that I met at an event, and he came up to me and he was like, you know, thank you so much for doing this. I think he was an ex-frat kid, whatever. I think he was like 23. Long story short, he said that he was helping when he was at school. He would help on his campuses to give consent talks. And I mean, he was this beautiful, beautiful man. Like, and I say that to say that you think of the image of a really handsome kid that was in a frat at a college. He probably could get all the girls he wanted.
Absolutely.
And I was so impressed. I made an assumption about him, but I was so impressed that he was so enthusiastic about it. And he's like, listen, he's like, this is unacceptable. He's like, I've seen my bros at a party, like totally trying to mac on a girl when she's like out of it, and it's not okay. And I've gone over to my bros and said, hey, stop, like leave her alone. And I was like, I literally was about to burst into tears when he told me that. I'm like, that's amazing that this kid is saying this. 23 years old. And again, the kids, all the things that are happening in the world right now, the kids are stepping up. They're not afraid to speak up. They're not afraid to put themselves out there. And I love that. It's the older generations that I feel like are still a little bit trapped in this, you know, let's not ruffle feathers and let's just be polite and let's not say anything.
You know,
and we got to stop that.
I kind of want to disagree with you on that. I think it's because older people have skeletons in their own closet that they don't want uncovered. And so of course it makes it a little bit more socially acceptable if you say, well, let's not just touch on that subject. Let's not go there. Let's just that happened in 1994. Why are we still talking about that? Well, guess what? We need to talk about it, because what happened in 1992 actually happened in 1982. It happened in 1972. It happened in 1962. And it's happening in 2022 if we don't stop it.
Absolutely. Well said.
So at some point, you have to accept responsibility from the things that you were involved with. And help create a better situation for those younger than you.
Absolutely.
And I think speaking for the baby boomer generation, which I'm in, I'm
Do
cute, but I'm a baby boomer.
You are.
But speaking for that generation, I think that those of us who aren't on board need to get on board.
Yes,
That's just the bottom line. We need to get on board, because I spent many a day running from people in corporate America who were trying to infringe themselves upon me in a way that I wasn't comfortable, you know, or quitting a job or going to a different department because this person was acting in a way that was disrespectful.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
we as women, we shouldn't have to do that.
Absolutely.
Our concern at work should not be who is sexually harassing us.
Right.
Absolutely.
It should be getting the job done, right?
And being safe in your job. Yeah.
So when Matt told me about you and about your book, I was so excited because you're one of the spearheads
Thank you.
of a movement that should have happened 75, 100 years ago. So I'm glad you're here.
Thank you so much.
Literally, physically, and what you're doing.
Oh, Shar, you're making me emotional. Thank you. No, really, thank you so much.
It's the truth. Women and men don't need to be uncomfortable in any environment they are in due to someone else's sexual intention.
Right.
It's unacceptable.
Well, and that's the thing. It's a bottom line. It's a lack of respect. It's I'm gonna get what I want. I don't care about someone else's feelings or comfort or safety.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know how that's acceptable. But again, I think it's almost we're in a culture. We have such a culture of shame around so many topics around sexuality, around boundaries. Already, if we're shameful about sex and certain things, then why would we even have conversations about it?
That's very
Right.
true.
Like in a productive way. And so we're trying to change that too. And the colleagues that, that we mentioned before, that I have I'm fortunate that I'm in a lot of really amazing spaces with people who are having a lot of these conversations all the time. And so I sometimes get, like if I'm from small town Ohio. I've been in LA 15 years.
Shout out to Ohio.
Shout out to Ohio and the Midwest. Shout out. I feel like I'm about to counteract that shout out real quick. That's all right. Okay. Let's just do it. So Midwest, growing up in the Midwest, it's a very specific place. There's California. I'll frame it like this. California is an amazing place. I feel like there's a lot of space to be who you want, do what you want, live how you want. Consensually, of course. And there's a lot more education and opportunities and resources here. True. In certain parts of this country, there is no access to any of this.
Right.
So, I'll go back there and certain things, like there's a couple experts in my book that might be seen as sort of controversial, being sex therapists or certain things back home. And it's like, I get that there's more of a, how do I say it? Just more of a, they want things to be a little more like, you talk about that in private and we shouldn't be talking about that's not appropriate. But it's like, we need to, like you said, Char, we need to be talking about this stuff because just the shame factor is killing us and hurting a lot of people. I have so many things to say and I don't know. I just quit.
Absolutely. And I feel like a common thread throughout like all of this with all like these different groups is like there's a culture within all of them where like the culture is accepted, but it's not supposed to be the norm at all because it's like the culture within like the frat of like, taking advantage of girls or in the workplace, taking advantage of women and everybody almost like shutting up needs to really change because it's,
and that being said too, now with, on the other side of the street, with men being targeted because there are a lot of women now who are in a position of power.
Right.
And so, you would imagine since the percentage is getting higher with women being in a position of control or power, that now men are being subjected to the same thing. Not that they weren't in the past, but men are being subjected to the same thing. So how, if we've got all of this going on, Erin, all
so
of this going
so
on,
much, yes.
I want to know how does someone date without the other person feeling like they're infringing on their... So when we come back, can we talk about that?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna pass that to Erin because I have no comment.
I don't even know. So my name is Charline, and that's Matthew over there. And
I don't even know if I should go by God's gift anymore.
Seat.
That could start offending some people.
Ooh.
We're gonna start setting some boundaries. I am Matthew McReynolds, ladies and gentlemen.
And I'm Charlene's sister, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. We're with the wonderful Erin Tullman here at Dash Talk Radio. My name is Matthew.
And I'm Charline, and we're talking to the dating advice girl. So now we're going to get into the dating advice part of it so that people stay out of trouble.
Yeah, because we all need help, especially me. So
everyone needs help.
You don't need help. Do you?
I need Erin. That's what it is. So Erin, lead us off. Help me.
Make sure that no one's doing anything wrong, Erin. So give us some advice, please.
Okay, so there's a lot to this, but really there isn't. Like
Okay.
the boiled down part of this is that respect. It's respect. If someone isn't into something you want or you're requesting from them, then it's a no. Okay. And yeah, so there's so many things I could say here, but like I said earlier, number one is enthusiastic consent. If someone's not enthusiastic about whatever you're asking them to do or offering to them, then it's a no. And that's to protect yourself as well. It's so important because it's not, I mean, again, there's hurt feelings that happens like, oh, I really like this person, or I really want to go out on a date with them, or I really want to kiss them, or I really want to have sex with them or whatever. But if they're not into it, even if you're just want to go the selfish route,
Right.
it's a no to protect yourself, everyone listening. The other thing that's really important is to know your own boundaries. It's really, really, and this is genderless as well.
Right.
I know a lot of guys whose boundaries have been pushed personally, who have told me like, you know, this girl is like really aggressive, but then I felt like I would be like not a man if I said no. And it's like,
Right.
okay, so I'm kind of jumping topics here, but boundaries is the second thing. So it's really important to know your boundaries. In terms of dating and sexuality, there's a lot of, there's these lists called yes, no, maybe lists that you could just Google search. There's a ton of them from different organizations and nonprofits. And basically it's a list that has a bunch of different things. Like some of the lists have like 500 items on them of things that you might want to do with someone on a date or not do on a date, and you circle yes, no, or maybe. That can make it a fun game with someone that you're dating.
That's
like,
true.
oh my God, let's get our yes, no, maybe list out. Or, hey, because it can, I appreciate in this conversation that it can be very difficult and there's some nervousness around talking about this stuff,
Right.
especially if you do have feelings for someone or if you want to get their attention or if you're interested in them. So something like that can be fun because then it's like a fun list. It's like,
icebreaker,
let
too.
me circle my things
Right.
I like and don't like. And then you can look at them. And so it's not like, okay, let's interview you now. Do you want me to do this? And then someone feels pressured to say yes or no, or, you know, that kind of thing. So that's a fun way, like you said, an
Right.
icebreaker to help, you know, make that happen too. You know, I think that dating, especially if you're talking like digital dating, like dating apps and those kind of things, it can be kind of difficult. Okay, Tinder, of course. And this is, I think I
Absolutely.
mentioned before we were on air that I have another book that I wrote 5 years ago called The Dating Guide Book that I took out of print because it's no longer relevant because
Right, it
things are
doesn't
changing
apply.
so quickly. There were things that I read in that book that aren't even like valid anymore. And I was like horrified. I'm like, no, I can't have anyone buying this book. Like I'm totally embarrassed just because at the time it was just, you know, things have evolved so quickly. So with dating apps, Tinder, Bumble, all of them. By the way, I'm on all of them because I need for research. I'm really, you know, I really study up.
Erin, are you sure you're on there for research?
Well, I mean, I fluctuate in and out of relationships, so I'm on there for personal reasons too at times. That's
That's when you get to enjoy your job.
that's a whole other episode.
Okay, so we'll have to have you come back and talk about that.
For sure.
I mean, but it's good. I'll say this really quickly though about that. You know, it's really important that whoever I'm dating really get what I do.
Right.
I can't have anyone that's jealous.
Right.
I'm very upfront about what I do for a career, and I'm always respectful within the relationship I'm in. But I mean, I'm interacting with a lot of single people all the time.
All the time,
and I'm on the
right.
apps. It's part of my job. Okay, so anyway, being on all the apps, it's important to be respectful. Some of the messages I've gotten on Tinder, on OkCupid, and all.
I feel like they are absolutely reckless.
You know, it's insane. But Matthew, here's what's interesting, and this could be helpful. For me, I'm always interested, and everyone has different likes and dislikes in
Right.
terms of what they're going to be attracted to, what line you reach out with, if that's cool
Right.
or if that's a turn off. But for me, I'm always interested in someone, if we swipe for each other, they reach out in just a respectful way and
Right.
just say something like, how's your day going? You know, and not something like super like, looking good, or like, what's up, happy you hump day. I don't know.
Right,
Like, just
exactly.
be normal, people, guys, and people listening, guys especially. Like, just approach like a normal person, a casual conversation. It doesn't have to be super swaggy or super aggressive or super. That is what we're talking about. Like, we just want to be treated like human beings.
Right.
That
in and of itself can be offensive.
And here's the other thing, really quickly. If somebody isn't responding to you, say you swipe for someone, you match, you reach out with a message, they don't respond back, just like let it go. Like, and that's something I do with my coaching when I have a client. Everyone hears no. No one is getting 100% swipe lefts or rights or whatever all of the time. And so it's really important to really, it's like a logical, like you're trying to like use logic to frame this. It's like, no one bats 1,000. I don't know if it's the right reference.
right. No, absolutely.
I don't know if it was the wrong reference. Okay. But meaning no one gets 100% yeses. So if you can frame it like that, this person's not interested in me, fine. I'm not going to send an aggressive message back.
It's okay to hear no.
And by the way, sorry, but please stop sending the dick pics. Okay, and this is a tip from me. This is what I do, and this could be not gender specific either. When I match with someone on an app or a dating app, I don't give my phone number out. Right. Because there's, we use them on our phones, so it's basically like, you have access like a text in your phone to message someone, message a place to meet up with them, all of that kind of stuff. I can't tell you how many times I've sent my number to someone. We're having cool messages back and forth for a while. As soon as I send my phone number,
completely
3
left.
a.m., here we go. And it's like, no. So that's my boundary. So for me, I've actually told clients, a good barometer for someone's personality and if they're going to respect you is say, if they ask for your number, you say, no, I'm not going to give my number. If they get aggressive with you after that, then they're
definitely
run. Delete your page.
That's a very small boundary. Right. That's a very small boundary you can set. And someone's not respecting you at that point in the beginning.
And they haven't even met you yet. It's like,
completely.
Flag.
And it's like, well, anyway, so, oh my God, that's just a few tips. I mean, I could give a bunch more, but.
And I kind of feel like as far as like men with like just our standards on like dating women in general, we have to unlearn certain things because we're kind of taught as men sometimes. Like as far as kind of being the aggressive, not saying that the women are the prey, but like as far as when talking to women, like if, like, let's say you go up to a girl in a club and you think that she's really hot and she turns you down, it's like, oh, she's just playing hard to get. I need another angle at trying to talk to her, which is really, you're not setting up the right boundaries because she's not interested.
But I'm so glad you brought that up. So I was a part of a workshop. I'm busy, you guys. It's so crazy.
I was going to say, do you sleep?
No, not really. I'm so tired. I'm going to go take a nap after this. I was a part of a workshop a few weeks ago called Dating in the Me Too Era. And there were a lot of guys who showed up for that because it was like, what do we do?
Right.
What do we do now? How do we do this? I'm so glad you brought that up. There were several guys in the audience who said specifically something around what do we do? Because I've had some women say that I'm not like a manly man because I'm not pursuing them aggressively, and they want me to pursue them aggressively.
Right.
And so there are some women who do still want that. That's where it becomes tricky. I'm not gonna lie to you. Because I'm like,
how do you start with like an open conversation? Like you walk up to a girl and I'm like, do you want this aggressive or do you want me to back off and be
it's
like?
True. No, that's valid.
It's a valid
That
point.
is so valid. I mean, I love it. Thank you for bringing that up because I think it is this. We're all trying to figure this stuff out. Another reason why I didn't want it to just be my voice in this book. There are some men experts in this book. Like it really was important to me because we're trying to figure this out. So basically, the bottom line is it goes back to enthusiasm. If you're at a club and you approach a girl in a certain way, I would like pick a middle ground. Like,
we need like a guy
aggressive.
like barometer.
Yes. Like, where does she lie in the spectrum of?
Oh, okay, we're good.
Right. So, I mean, I would approach with caution and with respect, and then you can add some swag in it. But here's the thing. As it goes on, someone's gonna be upfront with you. If you like, say you meet someone in the club, you don't know, right?
Right.
But if you set it up to where you're gonna meet later for a
Right.
drink, or maybe you're carrying on a conversation later, you can put in like tidbits, things in the conversation, like put feelers in there to kind of figure out what they're into. It's like, yeah, I mean, you could even have a conversation like, yeah, I mean, it's hard to know what to do these days, like, because like, do you, I like, I want to like pursue, or do you like to be pursued, or do you kind of like take a step back? Like most people I know, most guys I know, if I have a conversation like that with them, they're like, oh, okay, just tell me what you want.
Right.
Like, what do you
So
want?
you're not playing this guessing
Right.
game
So then you're
that
having
could get
an
you in
open-
trouble.
Right.
If
You're
you
having
guess wrong.
Right. You're having an open conversation
Right.
about these things. For me, in my experiences with clients, with my colleagues, the thing that where it goes wrong is when there's just a ton of assumptions made and things are overly aggressive. That's where it goes wrong. I don't know anyone who said, oh, they were too nice up front, so I'm going to accuse them of sexual assault. There's some statistic, it's something like 2 to 8% of women lie about sexual assault. 2 to 8%. That's not a lot.
That's
a
not a
very
lot.
small percentage. Really quick, I know we're out of time, but I just want to say really quickly, we also need to get to a place where we're having more conversations about solutions.
Absolutely.
We can't just banish everybody who's violated boundaries to an island somewhere. That is not that's not reasonable.
That's not
so
reasonable.
we need to have more conversations about what do we do to either rehabilitate, bring people back into society. If they're showing signs that they are learning and really want to make an effort, we need to figure that out too.
Well,
That's
Erin, we want you to come back.
I know there's not enough time
Because
ever.
there's not enough time. So this is just part one of us with Erin.
This was just the icebreaker,
This is the
guys.
icebreaker. And Erin, you promise you're going to come back. You will be back.
Yes.
And so we need to know where we can find you until you get back to us. So
Yes.
what are your
Exactly.
social media handles and all of that.
Yes.
And where
Thank
can
you.
they find this book?
Yeah,
Yes,
where's
thank you
this
so
book
much.
at?
Thank you so much. So you can find me on my website. It's thedatingadvicegirl.com. Again, my name is Erin Tullman. I'm on all the social medias, facebook.com/thedatingadvicegirl. I'm on Twitter @datingadvicegirl. So @datingadvicegirl. Same on Instagram. Dating Advice Girl, YouTube.com. Just go to my website, The Dating
She's
Advice Girl.
everywhere.
The book is you can find the book on my website, but the book has its own website, theconsentguidebook.com.
I like
it's
it.
on Amazon. It's on Google Books. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's at Amoeba Records in Hollywood.
Holla.
Yes.
I seen you post about that and I was super excited because
Thank
I go
you.
there all the time.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm still trying to set up a book signing, so stay tuned to the website because there's going to be way more events happening in LA too, where I'll be speaking with some of the experts from the book, and we'll be having open discussions with the people who come to the event.
That's
We love
absolutely
it.
amazing.
Erin, thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank
This is
you.
Lunch with the Finance Bunch, and you can find us on Dash Talk Radio at 12 o'clock on Tuesdays.
Absolutely.
And on YouTube, you can find us anytime. And
At
we
the
want to thank you
Finance
for
Bunch.
listening in
Everything.
every
Oh,
day.
yes.
And we'll see you next Tuesday. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Lunch with the Finance Bunch. I'm your host, Miss Charline, on Dash Talk Radio.
Tuesdays at noon. I'm God's gift.